In my presentation, I will try to provide all of you, some actionable advice for crafting compelling proposal in just 20 minutes. I think it's quite challenging, but I will try to do my best. Okay, so here you are, the main content of my presentation. First, a few words about understanding the evaluation, some practical tips for excellent impact and implementation section. One slide about how to avoid general common pitfalls, and finally some last conclusions. Regarding the evaluation process, well, really there are no mysteries about this evaluation. Probably you are aware of this, how it's working. Yes, I would like to highlight that the process is very transparent. We are provided as an evaluator the same information as you can find in the partners in the participant portal. We are provided with the work program guide for applicants, the documentation about the scorings, how to we are familiar in general with this documentation. We are introduced by the commission in our role as evaluator in a briefing. So before starting to evaluate everything, we have to understand all the documents, and we have to apply in this criterion of recommendation to make our judgment and to write our reports. So there is a first step, or the process is starting with an individual evaluation carried out remotely. After reading documents and after watching the briefing, then we move all the experts to Brussels for a consensus meeting. Before this consensus meeting, we had another briefing to remind us all the main features of the evaluations. And well, during the meetings, we must agree, comment, scores. Finally, the process is closed with a final rank list that all the experts has to approve. During all this process, we have a very strong support for the COFUND team and also with a team of the chairs and vice chairs. Okay, let's move now to the practical tips for, first of all, for excellence. One on the selection process, as you can imagine, is a very important uh, part of the proposal, of the COFUND proposal. This should follow, as Mark has commented, or should be defined as an open, transparent, merit-based recruitment process, follow principles for charter and codes. In most cases, more on a lot of proposal, this is repeat several times, but we need as an evaluator to see evidence in the proposals that the proposal is really following these principles. How? For instance, a good way to demonstrate that the process is designed as a transparent in a transparent way is just to include independent experts with no conflicts of interest. This is also a requirement of the INCO fund, as Mark has commented in his presentation. So they should be involved in all stages. Okay, there will be also an adequate balance and rebalance parties, but it's important that you ensure enough number of external or independent experts outside the program. For instance, if you have a selection committee of 10 members and you only have one external member from outside the consortium, the transparency is, well, we can have some doubts about this transparency really, because we have not enough independent experts inside the selection committee, because the selection committee is finally who makes a decision about who will get the fellowship or not. Another element very important in COFUND is the supervisor, the role. This has been commented in depth by Mark. Just to highlight that it's very important you explain the role. If there will be any role of the supervisor, you should explain this role in the proposal, but never this role should be related to drafting or approving the proposal coming from the candidates. Or, for instance, if they are involved in any decision about the recruitment process, if this supervisor is involved in deciding if the person or the candidate will get or not the fellowship. This is not something allowed in the COFUND projects. Also, it's important that fellows be able to select supervisors according to their needs and career objectives. There could be some contact, no problem. For instance, during interviews, if these interviews are carried out in face-to-face in the same hosting institution, there sometimes supervisors are attending to the as an observers to the interviews, or there are some events or social events where candidates can interact with potential supervisors. But finally, the decision is made by the fellow, no the other way around. Regarding the employment conditions, I would like to highlight that it's important to explain you are offering candidates employment contracts or stipends, or usually you are following the Charter and Co. The most I think it's important to be able to provide employment contract. If not, please explain very clearly in a convincing way why you are not able to provide a non-fixed amount fellowships. Because this is a general normal rule in Europe. So this is sometimes, for instance, we found in projects that we have both schemes, employment contracts and stipends. In this case, it's very difficult to understand why not all the candidates can have an employment contract. Even it's difficult sometimes when you prepare the budgeting. Budgeting is another part of the proposal where there are quite a big number of mistakes, especially if you are mixing employment contracts with stipends. Please try to follow the rule and explain the figures, not only to put the figures. It's explain if you are offering some budget for research, if you are offering money for the secondments, everything that you think is important, everything which they highlight your proposal, everything that demonstrate that your proposal is better than other proposals, as you are offering very attractive conditions to the potential candidates. And as Mark has commented, figures in per A and B should match, and this is also a typical mistakes, that the number of person month, the own resources, and the overall amounts is different. What this happen in the proposal, the evaluator has to check, because we have to assess the budget, the financial budget for the program. Our tendency when we don't understand the budget is penalize the proposal. Okay, so be careful with these kind of things. About the quality of the research auctions, well, this is not a research project, so you had not to explain so much about research, but at least you should demonstrate that you are offering attractive research auctions to the candidates, and the candidates should have the opportunity to choose the research option or to propose a research team. This is you are proposing the proposals. You have to make your proposal. But please be careful with something. Sometimes there are proposals where the number of positions and the number of the research option are the same, and there is only one selection committee, or there is only one ranking list. The first in this ranking list probably will have the option to choose, but the last one in the ranking list probably will not have any option. So be careful with this kind of things. Regarding training, also training and career development plans are also a very important element in COFUND. So you should try to provide comprehensive training opportunities, not only writing a PhD or conducting research, going beyond. So please list, because we love, as an expert, we love details. We love details because we understand better what you want to implement in your program or in your project. So these details about your training offers, scientific, non-scientific, transferable skill, transferable training. Yeah, and if you are providing this because you have already insights on internal services, you are already providing this, or there will be other external service of there will be some additional funding. All these elements are helping us to assess positively your proposal. And also it's important to demonstrate how this training offer on the network-wide events are integrated in the training pathway of the candidates and also in the career development plan. Okay, it's not only listing, it's how all of this is helping to provide, to ensure and ensure career development for the researcher. Also, the career development plan should be elaborated. Ensure that this is elaborated with the help of the supervisors, mentors, and is addressing training needs and transferable skills and career aspirations. Another very important element of the excellence is the supervision here. There is a very interesting document I recommend you to read. It's the guidelines on supervision elaborated by Maria Skolsky Actions. Here you can find very interesting information that can use. So here two elements I would like to highlight. One is explain the experience and the different profiles of the supervisors. For instance, you can explain the experience in terms of number of texts supervised by the different supervisors, as you consider important here, you can include. But also you can explain here, for instance, if there will be some compulsory training for the supervisor, if there is some kind of national or institutional regulation to become supervisor, or if, for instance, there are some young supervisors who will be supported by experienced one. Regarding supervision arrangement, we like to see how this supervision will be practically performed. For instance, the frequency of meeting, if there are some mechanisms in place, there will be supervisory boards, etc., etc. Details. Regarding impact and regarding to the sub-criteria about strengthening human resources and good practice, it's important you explain the impact on institutional, regional, national, or international level. I have they highlighted in red color, or because you don't need to explain all the impacts. Okay, you have to at least explain one or two of the impact. You have to convince that, for instance, the implementation of this program will have an impact at least at the institutional level because you are attracting outstanding researchers and probably you are implementing new procedures in your institution. So explain how it's impacted in your institution, or how is in terms of networking opportunities or outstanding researchers, how this is impacted in your national or regional research ecosystem. Okay. Sometimes here we have very big or inconsistent argumentation, lack of specificity to assess or to see clearly that there is really an impact. Regarding the principles set out by the EU for human resources, basically career charter and code and the principles about innovative doctoral training. Here you can mention, for instance, the applicant and the participant institution have the logo, and particularly explain how the program, how the institution align in the framework of the program you are proposing, how you are aligning with the principles at the level of the program and also at the level of the institution. For instance, you can include a table. Not you cannot abuse about the tables, but here maybe a table, not repeating whatever, because sometimes probably you have the feeling that you are repeating so much. But here it works to mention those elements of your program, which is really matching, fitting these principles of charter and code and innovative doctoral trainings, and how this is addressed in your program and you are impacting and you have an impact on these principles. About the credibility of the measures to enhance the career perspectives and employability and skill development, uh, try to explain a comprehensive explanation of career perspective. I mean, sometimes we found that there is a lot of information of the academic career path, but non-academic sector is also important, and not only industry. For instance, social science and humanities, you have other institutions like museums, like foundation, etc., mention this kind of other non-academic sector opportunities for the researchers. Regarding skill development, here you can link with the main elements of the program, for instance, how the training, how the mentoring scheme, how the networking opportunities is really enhancing the skill development of the researchers. Okay, you have not reinvent something because this is something that you have explained in excellence. You have made reference. You have referred back. You can use here maybe briefly some table. Okay, and if possible, you have, because this is something that is reinforcing a lot of the proposals, you can provide some quantitative figures of the sector. You can justify or quantify the existing demand in this area in particular. You have the figures about the employability of your PhD students or your researchers, for example, alumni, or you are monitoring the guides and information, because this is giving credibility. This is having demonstrated that your program will have an impact in if the project gets funding. Regarding the last criteria for impact, here you had to demonstrate how you will how the results will be impacting in terms of the dissemination, communication, and exploitation. But explain explain two things. One is how the program and the results will be effectively disseminated, communicated, and protected, but also how the researchers of the program, I mean the fellows, and even the supervisors, will be engaged in this process. For instance, if they will be engaged visiting schools, if they will be participating in citizen nights, podcasts, etc. And how the researchers will integrate these activities in the career development plan, how these activities will be monitored. This is also very, very interesting. So as I commented before, try to provide details about the type of planning activities, target groups, channel responsibilities, everything you think can make attractive for us to better understand what you plan to, to enhance the impact of these results. Mention also if there will be some specific training for the dissemination and communication skills. Probably this is commented in the training, but you can also mention here both for supervisors and for researchers. Mention if there will be support or monitoring from dedicated units. You are at universities. We all at university there are these dedicated units. Try to engage them in your proposal, or if not, you can also explain that you have this externally. Um, uh, in, Sometimes there are from external units, in particular in for exploitation. So it's important also for IPR issues and exploitation transfer, technology transfer units, and our institution can make some monitoring and provide some training and can help in this process on enhancing impact of the results. Plan, if possible, mechanisms for monitoring the activities, for instance, the number of scientific articles or number of conferences, number of social media. It's not really compulsory, but this is enhancing the credibility of your proposal, the quality of the proposal. And don't forget that the fellows are moving to another institution. So in the secondment, you should manage explain how IPR will be protected, because this could have an impact in the future exploitation of the results. Moving finally to the implementation. Regarding work plan, management structures, assessment risk, and work packages, I would like to highlight, first of all, the management structure. The management structure has been as complex or simple as needed, so should be current with the size and complexity of the program. You don't need to have everything. If your program is very simple, it's small, has a small size, you need a small management structure. But please include everything, day-to-day strategy, supervision activities, because it's easy for us to understand how this will be managed in a global way. Explain with enough details the roles, responsibilities of the different office, boards, committees, etc. Trying to avoid inconsistencies, particularly with the excellent sanctions, because some of these boards are already explained, for instance, selection committees and other board management offices. You don't need to repeat again, you just to refer back. But if you are repeating, you ensure that there are no difference in your explanations. If there are different hosting institutions, it's interesting to see how local program managers offices will be coordinated. Regarding the Gantt chart, it's interesting to see, as an evaluator for me, it's interesting to see all the main activities selection, not only the selection process, but also the training, for instance. and including deliverables and milestones. Pay attention to the inconsistencies for date, for instance, for deliverables and milestone work packages, because sometimes we found, no, we look at the table for deliverables for milestones, and then we look at the Gantt chart, and the dates are different. So please check twice if possible. Okay. Regarding work packages, I will suggest to include some details beyond the objectives. For instance, it's possible tasks as well as responsibles, because remember that the work package is the tool that you will use to implement the project. So we need some elements to ensure that there will be an appropriate monitoring of the work. So task is also welcome to see the work packages on some explanation. The number of deliverables and milestones should be appropriated. Be careful with that. Sometimes in some proposals, small proposals, there are a big number of deliverables. This could mean an overload. So ensure that at least one deliverable, maybe two, just to be rational, to be coherent with the size again and complexity of your proposal. Regarding the assessment on risk, yes, depending on your problem, there will be some risk, obviously, but my suggestion is, well, there should be some risk. Always there should be some risk regarding, for instance, problems with progress, conflicts with supervisor, or withdrawals, comments. Try to think of your proposal and in writing this kind of risk. It's important also to think and in how you address this risk. So the levels like likelihood and severity and mitigation measures should be credible. For instance, what do you think about the severity of a conflict with supervisor? Is low? Is high? Do you think it's low? We have to assess this. Okay, finally, regarding implementation, there are two other sections. One is about the quality, capacity, and appropriate experience of the host institutions. Here you can highlight experience in managing similar programs, not necessarily with COFUND. Maybe it's your first experience in COFUND. Maybe you have experience in coordinating other doctoral programs or postdoctoral programs, or coordinating other European or projects or the relevant initiatives. So explain this, because this is a good way to demonstrate you have relevant experience to manage a project of the complexity that a COFUND program has. Mention key persons or other units involved if connect at the writing of the proposal. Sometimes you don't have this information, but probably you already have who will be the director of the program, etc. If you already know, it's positive to see all of them in the proposal and to explain the relevant experience that these people and these units are bringing to the proposal. You can obviously hire a project manager, it's positive, but I think it's good to have a combination of as internal experience of dedicated units or key personnel with people hired especially dedicated to the project, because you are hiring a person outside the consortium, this person needs some support from the inside for the institution. In the case that you have a consortium, try to explain the complementarity. Don't forget this kind of, don't forget to explain how the different partners, how the different participants organizations are complementing each other. Finally, regarding the hosting arrangements, try to explain all the support offered to the researchers through assistant or dedicated services. In the case of the application selection process, you don't need, again, to repeat whatever is in the excellent section. You can refer back to this section just to briefly mention. Regarding installation, probably in your institution, you have some existing support. So just to mention, just mention what support services, internal, external units will be provided to help the integration. For instance, support with accommodation, support with visa, housing, children, everything you think it's important and you are providing in your program and it's making different, it's making attractive to the researchers. And during the fellowship, probably there is planned some additional support, for instance, welcome days, ombudspersons, buddies, supervisory support. You can mention. The experts, we are aware that you only have 30 pages, so we don't expect here to have very long explanations. but I did mention. Well, regarding general common pitfall to avoid is, well, first of all, yes, being good is not good. I know your proposal probably is excellent, it's very good, but the proposal has to look good. Do not disregard the formal aspects. There are good proposals, but sometimes very well written or difficult to read. Formal aspects are also important because this is a competition. So you are competing with other proposals, and they are very well proposed. There's excellent proposals too. Try to be clear and avoid ambiguities because this kind of things is reducing the credibility of the proposal. So again, details as much as possible are always welcome. Try to use simple, clear text to be sure that it reads well and avoid long sentences. Sometimes we found proposals where with paragraph of 20 lines, we need breath. Experts, we also breath. So I think you can avoid to write very, very long sentences. It's very easy. It's much easier to read short paragraphs than longer. Avoid too much repetition. This is something that I repeat. Sorry, I repeat so much. Yes, you can use the reference. You can reference to the parts of the proposal. I have marking in pink color this because I would like you to remind. No, try to write a text that the evaluator will want to read. Too much repetition may make the proposal less convincing to the evaluator. And very important, may not properly address the criteria or sub-criteria, because maybe after 10, 15 lines, blah, 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 finally you are not answering or you're not addressing, you're not properly addressing the sub-criteria or the criteria. Finally, a very typical mistake. You can copy and paste information, but okay, from other documents, but do not just copy and paste. You have to tailor the information to fit your proposals. You can reuse information from other proposals, other COFUND where you were coordinating, but ensure coherence where things change rules in the requirements, change rules in the mobility rules. So ensure that you are not making a mistake just copying and pasting information. Finally, some conclusions, some final thoughts. I would like to encourage all of you to review proposals again. Once you have finished the proposal to write, review proposals again against the evaluation criteria, the requirements, engagement external experts, levels of proposals, involvement, etc. And it's very useful to ask for feedback. Ask for feedback from national contact point, ask for feedback from another colleague who is managing a COFUND project or not, because it's a good way to spot mistakes, to spot something which you didn't understand very well. Think, ask, why not? You have to know if you don't ask. And also, I would like to highlight the importance of clarity, coherence, and alignment with COFUND objectives, because COFUND is not a research project. It's a project about training. It's about to provide training opportunities to enhance career perspectives to researchers. It's not a matter to recruit researchers to work for my project, for my research. Okay, so ensure that you are writing a competitive proposal. Okay, that's all from my side. Thanks for your attention and good luck with your application. I hope my suggestions are useful for you.